So I've been looking in the comment section and a lot of people are asking me, how do I soundproof my window in my apartment? Apartments, you can't really make any modifications, you don't own it, so you don't really want to spend a lot of money to soundproof something that you don't own. But is there a way to actually be able to soundproof a window in your apartment where it won't break the bank and you don't have to make any modifications? Well, yes there is. So let's begin. So the first thing that you should do before you start wondering how you need to soundproof the window is where the noise is coming from. Is it a really thin window? Is it an old window? Because if it is, let's say, a thin window but a new window, you would use different soundproofing methods than if it's a thicker window but just an old window that has cracks and gaps all around the window. So there are different ways on doing it. So the first thing that you should do, you should just inspect your window. So let's say it is an older window and the noise isn't actually coming through the glass, but from the gaps and the cracks around the window frame or around where the window meets the frame. First thing that you should do is call the landlord. If you feel cold air coming through around the window, then it's leaking air, then noise will come through easily through those cracks. So call the landlord, get them to fix it. Now, what they should use, or if the landlord just won't do anything for you and you have to do it yourself, what you should use or what they should use is acoustical sealant. Now, the landlord might not want to use acoustic sealants because acoustical sealant will cost around $15 to $25 for one tube versus regular caulking, which would be around $3 to $4 a tube depending on where and what you get. The reason why they or you shouldn't use just regular caulking is because regular cheap caulking will just crack over time again as the home shifts and the window shifts. So use acoustical caulking. Acoustical caulking, yes, it costs a little bit more, but at least it will stay rubbery over time so those cracks won't reappear next year. So whether they are putting regular caulking, at least it seals the cracks for now. But if you're doing it yourself, you might as well use acoustical caulking if you plan on staying there for many years. If you just plan on staying there for a year or 6 months, yes, just go buy a $3 tube of caulking and do it yourself. The landlord will probably never notice that you ever touched it. Now, if the noise isn't coming from a crack around the window or around the window frame, then it's most likely coming in where you close the window. So all you need to do is buy a Weatherstrip. Usually you just buy a cheap self-adhesive Weatherstrip and it works very well. I'll leave links in the description below of everything I talk about in this video so it's a lot easier for you to find. The links are for Amazon and Home Depot just to give you more choices. Now, that is the two things that you can do easily if it's an old window where it just leaks cold air that you can feel. Then if you can seal those gaps, then you'll notice a difference in noise transmission from outside to inside. Now, if the noise isn't coming from an old window that's leaking, then if it's just a newer window, but just a cheap window and the glass is really thin, so now the noise is coming right through the glass, the way that you can soundproof it in an apartment is not really the same way that you would do it if you owned the home. If you owned the home and you really were serious in soundproofing that window, then you just get it replaced with a double or triple pane window, something thicker that will stop noise from coming through. If you're renting, you can't really do that. So if you're renting and you have a really thin window, then you can go and buy something called a window panel. Now, a few different companies sell these types of panel. They're usually custom made. The downside though, these types of window panels will typically cost you between $500 and $1,000. So if you have a kind of a smaller budget, then maybe a window panel isn't really for you. The thing is, they do work very well if you have a thin window. That's the thing. Window panels will help if you have just a single pane window. If there's still noise coming through and you have a double or triple pane window, then a window panel just won't work very well. It won't make much of a difference. So that's one thing that you should really check before you go out and order one of these panels, because they're custom made. You give them the measurements of the window and you send it to them. They make it, they send it back. A video right up there of a window panel that I tested upstairs in my future home office, where my kids are outside screaming and also playing music, just to see how well these types of window panels work. So you'll be able to hear the difference in that video. So make sure to go watch that. But of course, they are quite pricey. So if you are a little bit handy and you don't mind doing DIY things, then you can just go and build a window panel yourself. Just a window plug, they call it. It's basically this built in a way like a acoustic panel. Now these types of window panels are built almost like an acoustic panel. You have a frame, you measure the window, you make a frame, you put some insulation inside. For a window panel, I wouldn't build it exactly like this. If you want to build your own acoustic panels, video right up there. However, if you'd build a window plug, I would add a different type of insulation, and also I would add some drywall on each side and some mass-loaded vinyl on the inside. I will be building one such window panel in a future video, so if you are already subscribed and you haven't hit that bell, then hit it and you'll be notified when that video comes out. Probably in a couple of months. I bought all the material, but it's a little project and I just want to make sure that I build it the way that I want to build it for, so that you can see how it's built. It's going to be awesome. Now, if you're not really willing to build a window plug, which I don't blame you, then you can go and buy and install sound deadening curtains. Now, I know sound deadening curtains, you'll say that it doesn't block any noise. They're really meant to deaden sound. However, they can be used to block a little bit of the sound if they are installed correctly. The problem is that most people will install sound deadening curtains the exact same way as they would install regular curtains. You have two panels, you open them up, you close them. It won't really block sound coming from outside. However, if you have just one panel and let's say you double it up, you sew it together and you use industrial Velcro on one side, you sew it in, and then you stick the other side of the Velcro along the window frame. Now by doing this, you eliminate the gap between the two window panels that would join each other, and also you eliminate the gap around the window around the window frame. So the problem is most places where they sell these types of curtains, they don't really tell you that. They just tell you to install them the way that you install regular curtains, but to have at least 6 inches of curtain past the window on all sides. Now, yes, that will help. However, you still have that gap. Noise will still freely come through and around that curtain. You won't really stop it, but at least by doing it the way that I told you, then you will be able to eliminate a little bit of the noise. And also some people use moving blankets, and that can also work, but as I said, make sure to install it the right way so that noise doesn't really come through the sides. So hopefully by using some or all of these methods, you'll be able to soundproof the window enough that it doesn't drive you insane. Thank you very much for watching. Leave a comment in the section below. I really appreciate it. It helps the Google algorithm, and also it gives me ideas for future videos, and I might add your question in a video. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time. Feel free to take a look at many of our other YouTube videos and also some of our articles on our website, soundproofguide.com. Don't forget to click the like button if you enjoyed this video, and also consider subscribing to our channel if you like our content.